Hey, Math 1, lesson 1.2 coming at you. However, I want you to pause the video and look at this. If you feel comfortable with all of those concepts, skip this video and move on to part 2. Because I'm going to just go through all of these in this first video, just in case you need a recap on all those skills. So the first one is to know how to multiply multi-digit decimals. So just checking out over here, I believe. Yeah. How do you multiply 5.21 times 5.21? A 3-digit decimal times a 3-digit decimal. Well, first of all, you start with the rightmost place value on the lower number, or whatever you put. It really doesn't matter. So in this one, I'm taking 1 times 1, then 1 times 2, and then 1 times 5. I'm moving from the right and moving left on above. So now, 1 times 1 is 1, 1 times 2 is 2, 1 times 5 is 5. Now, the next one, it's kind of like I'm done with this 1, and now there's just an empty placeholder here. It's almost like you're taking not 2 times 1, 2, and 5. It's you're taking 20 times 1, 2, and 5. So that's why you got to put underneath here a 0. Because it's like whenever you multiply something by 10, it adds an extra digit of accuracy. It's just like 5 times 10, 50. 0.7 times 10, 7. So I put a 0 there, but then I multiply like normal. So 2 times 1 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 5 is 10. Then you are saying, all right, so I use the 2, so now it's like I'm taking everybody times 500. So that's why we bring 2 zeros down, dropped for the next leg of the journey. So now I'm taking everything times 5. It's 5 times 1, 5 times 2, which is 10. But then I got to carry the 1 to the next column, right? So it's 25 plus 1, 26. All right, so I'm assuming everybody's seen this before, but I just really, especially with the pandemic and having several extra weird months of schooling, this is probably a good idea. This is the point at which you add the columns. So 1 plus 0 is 1. 2 plus 2 plus 0 is 4. 5, I'm going to go 5 plus 5 is 10, plus 4 is 14. Carry a 1. That'd be 1 here. And then 1 plus 6 is 7. And then there's a 2 all by itself. So now you ask yourself, where does the decimal place go? Great question. Because you had 4 digits beyond the decimal place, 1, 2, 3, 4, at the very end of a product multiplication, you're going to put the decimal point 4 digits in here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Which kind of makes sense, right? You took 5 times 5, which was like 25, right? It's 5 point something times 5 point something. It would make sense that it would be 27 and not 2.7. Or 271.4. All right? So make sure you guys are using those like common sense checkups whenever you're a little bit confused about a rule. Okay, so first one. That's how you multiply multi-digit decimals. Now, what about if you took a fraction times a fraction? This is basically top times top over bottom times bottom. It doesn't get any more straightforward than that. So the bottoms are easy. The bottoms are 81. 9 times 9 is 81. It would be awesome if you guys had your perfect squares memorized out to 14 times 14, because it's 196. But if you don't, again, you just stack them like normal. 4 times 4 is 16. Carry a 1, 5. Drop a 0, like the placeholder we just talked about. Then you got 1 times 4 and 1 times 1. That just confirms that it is 196. Yeah? And that's how you multiply a fraction. Now, normally I would show you guys like, all right, now that it's a fraction, let's see what it looks like as a mixed number. Maybe I'll come back to that after I talk about the converting to a mixed number. All right, so we're coming back to you. Now, how do we convert a fraction to a decimal? We talked about that the other day, but it doesn't hurt to double check. If I've got something like 3 divided by 8, 3/8. To convert that into 0.375, I need to make sure that if I'm talking about numerator over denominator or top divided by bottom, I'm maintaining a consistent approach to dividing it. I'm always saying that, okay, this process is, for long division, top goes inside, bottom goes outside. And that's just all there is to it. You just got to commit that to memory if it's not clicking right now. So then 3 goes in the box, 8 goes on the outside. Now 8 doesn't go into 3, so we have to remanage our thinking about the number 3. The number 3 is 3.0. 8 goes into 30 3 times. So you're going to put the 3 directly above the rightmost part. So 8 goes into 30 3 times. The decimal just moves straight up. And then you take 3 times your outside number, 24. And then you subtract it as if that's 30. You get 6. At this point, you're adding another 0 because 3.0 is the same as 3.00. Drop that 0 down, and now you've got a number that 8 can go into. So 8 goes into 60, not quite 8 times, right? 8 times 8, 64. It goes in 7 times. So again, you're putting the 7 above that digit. 7 times 8 is 56, which is 4. And then that's the same as 3.00. And in this case, it ends because 8 times 5 would give you 40. And that's exact. So whenever it's 0 at the bottom, you know you're done with the calculation. There's a lot of fractions that don't end, so you might have to say, I'm cutting it off at after 2 digits of accuracy or 3 digits of accuracy. Just depends on the situation. All right, so we talked about converting a fraction to a decimal. Now, what is a fraction? How do you make that into a mixed number? Well, let's just talk about the easy one first. So how does 14 over 9 become 1 5/9? It's pretty straightforward. It's just saying, how many times does the bottom go into the top? So 9 times 1 is 9. 9 times 2 is 18. It only goes in there 1 time. Now, if your fraction starts with a 9, the mixed number ends with a fraction that has a 9 on the bottom, right? Starts with a 9 on the bottom, ends with 9 on the bottom. And at this point, you're just saying, all right, how many leftovers were there? So you take 1 times 9, to get to 14, you got 5 leftovers. And that's how you convert a fraction to a mixed number. If you're going the opposite way, so how do I get from 3 7/8 to a fraction? Take the whole number times 8, because it's basically saying, okay, there are 3 times 8, 24 eighths that create the 3. 3 equals 24 eighths, right? 24 divided by 8 is 3. So then it's like this number really represents 24 eighths. And then you add to 7 eighths. So 24 plus 7 is 31 over 8. So, if that confused you, think of it like this. Big number times bottom, 24, plus the top. Make sure you keep it as 8 on the bottom. So normally in a situation in which I would ask you guys to multiply 2 decimals, all right, in the case of 196 over 81, I would want you to turn it into a mixed number at the end just so we have enough perspective on what that number actually is. Because how much is 196 over 81? I'm not exactly sure until I figure out how many whole numbers that is. And you can certainly do that by turning it into a decimal. But sometimes mixed numbers are actually more accurate than decimals, because you might have to round on a decimal. So we would ask ourselves, how many times does 81 go into 196? So do an estimate first. 80, what's double 80? It's 160, right? And then there's one extra, so it'd be 162. All right, so 81 goes into 196 at least twice because it goes up to 162. Now the question is, how many leftovers does it take to get to 196? So 2 times 81 gave us 162. What's 196 minus 162? Well, that's 34. All right, I think this gives us a lot better perspective on that fraction. Yeah. All right, so we got this one, got this one, got this one, got this one. How to compare the values of two numbers? I guess I don't know what to say about this other than keep in mind that these are less than symbols. Sometimes people talk about it's almost like a mouth that's eating the bigger number. So maybe, I don't know, you don't have to put some teeth on it, but it's like 2 eats the bigger number. I just try to look at it as, this looks like an L. So whatever you got to do to figure it out, just make sure you take care of that, because a lot of this stuff, we're incorporating new skills with the expectation that you know these others and that you don't have a problem producing these results. Are you going to make mistakes? Yeah, you're going to make a mistake every once in a while. You might say 3 plus 3 is 9. A lot of times people accidentally multiply when they mean to add. I'm expecting that you will make those mistakes here and there. But if you're consistently you just don't know what to do with this calculation or with this calculation, it's hard to move forward from that. All right, I think I'm done with part 1, and now I'm going to show you guys how to incorporate the new skills of converting a decimal or a fraction to a square root and being able to compare numbers. So let's get to it.